Hi guys, maayong adlaw. For this video, I will be presenting to you about finding the future value and present value of simple ordinary annuity. For the lesson objective, we have, at the end of this video, you should be able to solve for the future value and present value of simple ordinary annuity. This topic requires us to have a prior knowledge in the following: solving word problems on simple and compound interest. Number two, finding the future value and present value of compound interest. And number three, illustrating simple and compound interest. I already have videos about these lessons, so you better watch those videos so that you can relate about this topic. So to proceed, what is an annuity? In general, what is an annuity? Because there are different types of annuity. In general, what is an annuity? Annuity is a series of payments made for a time interval, which is usually stipulated in contracts. The payments are made by installments and does not vary for the duration of the contract. When we say does not vary for the duration of the contract, meaning the payment is equal for each time interval. Examples of annuities are loans, car and home mortgages, insurance, pension and retirement products, credit cards, and other debts. These are products in which requires you to pay a certain amount for a duration of certain time interval and for a duration of many years. Okay, that is an annuity. And to be specific, what is a simple ordinary annuity? When we say simple ordinary annuity, it is an annuity where the compounding period is the same as to the payment period or the payment interval. Meaning, if the payment interval is annual, the compounding period is also annual. When I say the payment interval is semi-annually, the compounding period is also semi-annually. Later, I will be presenting to you about problems involving simple ordinary annuity. But for now, let us proceed to the formula. To solve for the future value of simple ordinary annuity, we will be using this formula. And to solve for the present value for simple ordinary annuity, you will be using this formula. In this formula, our FV here is what we call the future value. So FV is for the future value. PV is of course for the present value. PP here is the periodic payments. And we also have R as the interest rate. Here is the R. And time in years. So we have here the time in the exponent. And of course, the N is the number of compounding periods. Now you have to take note that in some other sources, the R over N here is denoted by I, which is of course the rate divided by the number of compounding periods. But I opted to write here the R over N so that it would be easy for us to identify the rate and the number of compounding periods. So you will not get confused about this I, which is just the same as R over N. So we will be using this formula for future value and the present value. So you have here the periodic payments times 1 plus the R over N quantity raised to NT minus 1. Then that is over R over N. Then we have the present value is equal to the periodic payment times 1 minus the quantity 1 plus R over N quantity raised to negative NT all over R over N. Okay, so let's proceed to our examples. Example 1. We are given this problem. An insurance company offers a retirement package for 60 to 70 years old with an annual payment of 5,000 pesos. After 10 years, how much is in the account if it earns 7.5% compounded annually? Now, this problem is an example of a simple ordinary annuity. Why? Because the payment is annual and at the same time, the amount is compounded annually. That means the periodic payment is the same as the compounding period. So that is an example of simple ordinary annuity. So to solve, we identify the given. Of course, our periodic payment is 5,000. We need to pay 5,000 pesos every year because it is annual payment. Then next is, of course, the rate is 7.5, or in decimal that is 0.075. Then we have our number of compounding period, which is 1, because it is compounded annually, meaning once a year. So our n is 1. Then our time in years is 10 years, of course, and we have to solve for the future value. So to solve for the future value, of course, we need to use this formula. We have the periodic payment. In this case, our periodic payment is 5,000. Then our R is 0.075, and of course, our N is 1. Then T is 10 years. So we substitute these values to the formula, so we will have the periodic payment is 5,000. Then we have the constant 1. Then we have the R 0.075, and N is over 1. Then the NT here is 1 times 10, because N is 1, that T is 10. Then R is 0.075 over 1. Then we copy the constant minus 1. Then this time we simplify, we divide 0.075 divided by 1 is the same, 0.075. The same also here, 0.075 divided by 1. Okay, so 1 times 10 also is equal to 10. So this will become, we have here 5,000 times 1 plus 0.075. This is also 0.075, and 1 times 10 is also 10. Then this time we add these two numbers here, the 1 plus 0.075. So that would give us 1.075. Then we copy 10, then we copy the rest of the values. This time, before we subtract 1, we raise this number 1.075 to 10. By using a calculator, that would give us, we copy the 5,000, the periodic payment, and 1.075 quantity raised to 10 is equal to 2.0610. Then we subtracted 1, then we copy the denominator 0.075. Then we subtract the numerator, of course, that would give us 1.0610. Copy 5,000, we copy the denominator. This time, by using a calculator, we divide 1.0610 divided by 0.075. Of course, that would give us 14.1467. And we multiply this number to 5,000, which is the periodic payment. Therefore, our future value is 70,733.50 pesos. This is now the future value, the money in the account after 10 years. This includes now the compound interest. With the 5,000 pesos you paid annually within 10 years, with the interest of 7.5%, will now become 70,735.50. This is now the money in the account after 10 years. So let's proceed to example number 2. How much is the present value of an insurance product that has an interest rate of 5.2% with a regular payment of 1,000 pesos per year for the next 5 years? This time, we are told to find the present value, which is very clear in this problem. So to solve, we identify what is given. Of course, we have our periodic payment is 1,000 pesos. That is for every year. That is annual. Then we have our rate is 5.2%, or that is in decimal 0.052. Then our n is the same, is equal to 1. And our time is 5 years. And of course, we are to solve for the present value. Of course, we will be using the second formula. The present value is equal to the periodic payment. So we will substitute these values to the formula. So we will have the 1,000 pesos, which is the periodic payment, times 1 minus 1 plus our rate is 0.052 over 1. Quantity raised to negative 1 times 5, then over 0.052 over 1. Then we simplify, of course, we divide this number by 1, the same as with this number by 1. So, of course, we will have the same number. So, this will become 1,000 times 1 minus 1 plus 0.052 quantity raised to negative 5, because this is negative 1 times 5 is negative 5, then that is over 0.052. Then we add this number before raising to negative 5. So this is 1.052. So this number here, 1 plus 0.052, that becomes 1.052. Then this time we raise this number to negative 5. So that will give us, we just simply copy the periodic payment. We copy 1. Then 1.052 raised to negative 5 is 0.7761. We subtract the numerator. So we will have 1 minus this number is 0.2239, then divided by 0.052. Then divide this number, so we will have 4.3058. And again, we multiply this number to 1,000, which is the periodic payment. So we will have 4,305.80. This is now the present value of the insurance product with an interest rate of 5.2% with a regular payment of 1,000 pesos within 5 years. So, the present value of the insurance for 5.2 interest rate. We can also solve this problem by using another method, by using the formula for compound interest. So let us try solving this problem by using this formula. If you still remember, we have this formula for the present value for the compound interest. As you can see, we do not have the n here because, as I've said, the n is equal to 1. So we have here the present value is equal to the future value times 1 plus the r raised to negative t. So we are told to find the present value. We will be using this formula. This is now the formula for annual compounding period, meaning annual once a year. So let's proceed. Again, we have this problem. Now, to solve this problem, we need to illustrate the annual payment in a number line. Okay, so we have this number line. The first bar here would be 0. This is our present value. And of course, since we started our first payment in the first year, and because since we started our first payment during the first year, so this would be our first payment. So the first payment, the second payment, the third payment, the fourth payment, and the fifth payment, meaning the first year, second, third, fourth, and fifth year. So for the first payment, of course, we started our first payment in the first year, so that is 1,000. Another 1,000 in the second year, another 1,000 in the third, another 1,000 in the fourth, another 1,000 in the fifth year. Now, to solve for the present value of this amount here, of course, that is 1 year ago, the present value 1 year ago for this amount, we will need to use this formula. Okay, the present value is equal to the future value, and 1,000 here is called the future value. We have the rate, which is 5.2%, and of course, the time here is, of course, the first year, and proceeding to the fifth year. We need to substitute these values here, 1,000. We will have the future value is 1,000 times the 1 plus the rate is 0.052 and the time is negative 1. So when we use a calculator, that value would be 950 pesos 0.57. So after 1 year, the 1,000 pesos you have paid in 1 year, the present value for that is 950.57. Now the same thing happens for the second year. We have the future value 1,000. Then 1 plus 0.052 quantity raised to negative 2 because this is now the second year. So, our amount, when we're using a calculator and simplifying these values here, that would give us 903 pesos 0.58 for the second year. So, 1,000 pesos in second year is worth 903.58, the present value. Now, for the third year, the same. We use the same formula. This time, we have negative 3. The present value for this amount will now be 858.92. And the same happens for the fourth year. We have negative 4 as the exponent. Then, value would be 816.46. And the same for the fifth year. we have the present value would be 776.11. As you have observed, the amount or the present value decreases as time increases. The longer is the time duration, the amount of money decreases. That's because of inflation. So to solve for the present value, within 5 years, we just simply add all of this amount. That would give us 4,305.64. Of course, we have the same value using the second formula. But this solution, we are using the formula for the present value for the compound interest. So this value is now the present value for the insurance for 5.2% interest rate. So I hope you have learned something. Thank you and God bless.